Hi! Hello! You guys are back! Glad to see that you're back. I'm back. And I'm ready to read some more of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. So if you don't already know, I'm Nisah from Nisah's Audio. And last time I saw you guys, we left off on page 8. Alrighty, 17. That's my little mic, by the way. The policeman looked at me for a while without speaking. Then he said, "I'm arresting you for assaulting a police officer." This made me feel a lot calmer because it is what policemen say on television and in films. Then he said, "I strongly advise you to get into the back of the police car because if you try any of that monkey business again, you little shit, I will seriously lose my rag. Is that understood?" I walked over to the police car, which was parked just outside the gate. He opened the back door and I got inside. He climbed into the driver's seat and made a call on his radio to the policewoman, who was still inside the house. He said, "The little bugger just had a pop at me, Kate. Can you hang out with Mrs. S while I drop him off at the station? I'll get Tony to swing by and pick you up." And she said, "Sure, I'll catch you later." The policeman said, "Okie doke," and we drove off. The police car smelled of hot plastic and aftershave and takeaway chips. I watched the sky as we drove toward the town center. It was a clear night and you could see the Milky Way. Some people think the Milky Way is a long line of stars, but it isn't. Our galaxy is a huge disk of stars millions of light years across, and the solar system is somewhere near the outside edge of the disk. When you look in direction A at 90 degrees to the disk, you don't see many stars. But when you look in direction B, you see lots more stars because you are looking into the main body of the galaxy. And because the galaxy is a disk, you see a stripe of stars. And then I thought about how for a long time scientists were puzzled by the fact that the sky is dark at night, even though there are billions of stars in the universe and there must be stars in every direction you look, so that the sky should be full of starlight because there is very little in the way to stop the light from reaching Earth. Then they worked out that the universe was expanding, that the stars were all rushing away from one another after the Big Bang, and the further the stars were away from us, the faster they were moving, some of them nearly as fast as the speed of light, which was why their light never reached us. I like this fact. It is something you can work out in your own mind just by looking at the sky above your head at night and thinking without having to ask anyone. And when the universe has finished exploding, all the stars will slow down like a ball that has been thrown into the air, and they'll come to a halt and they will all begin to fall toward the center of the universe again. And then there will be nothing to stop us from seeing all the stars in the world because they will all be moving toward us gradually faster and faster, and we will know that the world is going to end soon because when we look up into the sky at night, there will be no darkness, just the blazing light of billions and billions of stars all falling. Except that no one will see this because there will be no people left on Earth to see it. They will probably have become extinct by then. And even if there are people still in existence, they will not see it because the light will be so bright and hot that everyone will be burned to death, even if they live in tunnels. Alright, chapter 19. Chapters in books are usually given the cardinal numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. But I have decided to give my chapters prime numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and so on because I like prime numbers. This is how you work out what prime numbers are. First, you write down all the positive whole numbers in the world. Then you take away all the numbers that are multiples of 2. Then you take away all the numbers that are multiples of 3. Then you take away all the numbers that are multiples of 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and so on. The numbers that are left are the prime numbers. The rule for working out prime numbers is really simple, but no one has ever worked out a simple formula for telling you whether a very big number is a prime number or what the next one will be. If a number is really, really big, it can take a computer years to work out whether it is a prime number. Prime numbers are useful for writing codes, and in America, they are They're classed as military material, and if you find one over 100 digits long, you have to tell the CIA and they buy it off of you for $10,000. But it would not be a very good way of making a living. Prime numbers are what is left when you have taken all the patterns away. I think prime numbers are like life. They're very logical, but you could never work out the rules, even if you spend all your time thinking about them. Puzzle which looked like this. 4. 3 pounds of rat food for Toby, my rat. 5. $1.47. This was made up of one pound coin and 20 pence coins. So I guess that's 1 pound and 47 pence. I'm American, if you can't tell. 6. A rag paperclip. And 7. A key for the front door. I was also wearing my watch, and they wanted me to leave this at the desk as well, but I said that I needed to keep my watch on because I needed to know exactly what time it was. And when they tried to take it off of me, I screamed. So they let me keep it on. They asked me if I had any family. I said I did. They asked me who my family was. I said it was father, but mother was dead, and I said it was also Uncle Terry, but he was in Sunderland, and he was father's brother, and it was my grandparents too. But 3 of them were dead, and my grandma Burton was in a home because she had senile dementia and thought I was someone on television. Then they asked me for father's phone number. I told them that he had 2 numbers, one for home and one which was a mobile phone, and I said both of them. It was nice in the police cell. It was almost a perfect cube, 2 meters long by 2 meters wide by 2 meters high. It contained approximately 8 cubic meters of air, and it had a small window with bars, and on the opposite side, a metal door with a long, thin hatch near the floor for sliding trays of food into the cell, and a sliding hatch higher up so that policemen could look in and check the prisoners hadn't escaped or committed suicide. There was also a padded bench. I wondered how I would escape if I was in a story. It would be difficult because the only thing I had were my clothes and my shoes, which had no laces in them. I decided that my best plan would be to wait for a really sunny day and then use my glasses to focus the sunlight on a piece of clothing and start a fire. I would then make my escape when they saw the smoke and took me out of the cell. And if they didn't notice, I would be able to wee on the clothes and put them out. I wondered whether Mrs. Shears had told the police that I had killed Wellington, and whether, when the police found out that she had lied, she would go to prison, because telling lies about people is called slander. 29. I find people confusing. This is for two main reasons. The first main reason is that people do a lot of talking without using any words. Sabone said that if you raise one eyebrow, it can mean a lot of things. It can mean I want to do sex with you, and it could also mean I think that what you just said was very stupid. Sabone also said that if you close your mouth and breathe out loudly through your nose, it can mean that you are relaxed, or that you're bored, or that you're angry, and it all depends on how much air comes out of your nose and how fast and what shape your mouth is when you do it, and how you're sitting, and what you said just before, and hundreds of other things which are too complicated to work out in a few seconds. The second main reason is that people often talk using metaphors. These are examples of metaphors. I laughed my socks off. He was the apple of her eyes. They had a skeleton in the cupboard. We had a real pig of a day. The dog was stone dead. The word metaphor means carrying something from one place to another, and it comes from the Greek words, which I'm not going to pronounce, which means from the one place to another, and that word, which means to carry. And it is when you describe something by using a word for something that it isn't. This means that the word metaphor is a metaphor. I think it should be called a lie because a pig is not like a day, and people do not have skeletons in their cupboards. And when I try and make a picture of the phrase in my head, it just confuses me because imagining an apple in someone's eye doesn't have anything to do with liking someone a lot, and it makes you forget what the person was talking about. My name is a metaphor. It means carrying Christ, and it comes from the Greek word which means Jesus Christ, and that word, and it was the name given to Saint Christopher because he carried Jesus Christ across a river. This makes you wonder what he was called before he was carrying Christ across the river, because he wasn't called anything, because this is an apocryphal story, which means that it is a lie too. Mother used to say that it meant Christopher was a nice name because it was a story about being kind and helpful, but I do not want my name to mean a story about being kind and helpful. I want my name to mean me. It was 1:12 a.m. When Father arrived at the police station, I did not see him until 1:28 a.m. But I knew he was there because I could hear him. He was shouting, "I want to see my son!" and "Why the hell is he locked up?" and "Of course I'm bloody angry." Then I heard a policeman telling him to calm down. Then I heard nothing for a long while. At 1:28 a.m., a policeman opened the door of the cell and told me that there was someone to see me. I stepped outside. Father was standing in the corridor. He held up his right hand and spread his fingers out on a fan. I held up my left hand and spread my fingers out on a fan, and we made our fingers and thumbs touch each other. We do this because sometimes Father wants to give me a hug, but I do not like hugging people, so we do this instead. And it means that he loves me. Then the policeman told us to follow him down the corridor to another room. In the room was a table and 3 chairs. He told us to sit down on the far side of the table, and he sat down on the other side. There was a tape recorder on the table, and I asked whether I was going to be interviewed, and he was going to record the interview. He said, "I don't think there will be any need for that." He was an inspector. I could tell because he wasn't wearing a uniform. He also had a very hairy nose. It looked like as if there were 2 very small mice hiding in his nostrils. He said, "I've spoken to your father, and he says that you didn't mean to hit the policeman." I didn't say anything because this wasn't a question. He said, "Did you mean to hit the policeman?" I said yes. He squeezed his face and said, "But you didn't mean to hurt the policeman." I thought about this and said, "No, I didn't mean to hurt the policeman. I just wanted him to stop touching me." And he said, "You know that it was wrong to hit a policeman, don't you?" I said, "I do." He was quiet for a few seconds, and then he asked, "Did you kill the dog, Christopher?" I said, "I didn't kill the dog." He said, "Do you know that it's wrong to lie to a policeman, and that you can get into a very great deal of trouble if you do?" I said yes. He said, "So, do you know who killed the dog?" I said no. He said, "Are you telling the truth?" I said, "Yes, I always tell the truth." And he said, "Right, I'm going to give you a caution." I asked, "Is that going to be on a piece of paper, like a certificate I can keep?" He replied, "No, a caution means that we are going to keep a record of what you did, that you hit a policeman, but that it was an accident and you didn't mean to hurt the policeman." I said, "But it wasn't an accident." And Father said, "Christopher, please." The policeman closed his mouth and breathed out loudly through his nose and said, "If you get into any more trouble, we can take out this record and see that you have been given a caution, and we will take things much more seriously. Do you understand what I'm saying?" I said that I understood. Then he said that we could go, and he stood up and opened the door, and we walked out into the corridor and back to the front desk, where I picked up my Swiss Army knife and my piece of string and the piece of the wooden puzzle and 3 pellets of rat food for Toby and my £1.47 and the paper clip and my front door key, which were all in a little plastic bag, and we went out to Father's car, which was parked outside, and we drove home.